A little while ago I reported on Counter-Strike Online 2 being shut down. Well, that's kind of lame, what can you do about it? A lot of people have said in the comment section that they hope for someone to preserve the game. And it seems like the prayers have been answered. A crew of Chinese modders is working on preserving the game in two very interesting ways. One involving Counter-Strike Global Offensive and the Steam Workshop, and the other one based around a mod based on Counter-Strike Source. Let us first have a look at the mod. The developers are porting as many assets as possible to Counter-Strike Source and then try to mount Counter-Strike Online 2's mechanics onto that. That is at times tricky because, for example, Nexon developed their own proprietary map format for Counter-Strike Online 2. It is impossible to simply import the map files from Counter-Strike Online into CSS or CSGO and then just run them. That will result in an error. So the version of the mod that I have still uses just Counter-Strike Source default maps. But the developers themselves already have a version that uses Nexon's original maps, but more on that later. The version that I have feels like a very overloaded Counter-Strike Source. The character selection screen features all sorts of silly models the free-to-play Counter-Strike used to have, from young women dressed in, well, whatever, cosplay outfits, to actually very good-looking GSG-9 models, and even Counter-Strike Condition Zero retro models, for some reason. I mean, this is all pretty ridiculous, but I imagine it could be very fun on a LAN party with friends. For any serious match, these player models are really useless. Distinguishing friend and foe becomes really hard when both CTs and terrorists wear pink miniskirts. Leaving player models behind and looking at the actual gameplay, the game still offers Counter-Strike Source's core gameplay mechanics, but due to the inclusion of a bunch of really unbalanced and outright overpowered weapons, the game dissolves into a ridiculous shootout with fire-spitting machine guns and rubber hammers. More realistic additions like the M60 machine gun or SCAR-L and H assault rifles are joined by explosive weapons like 40mm grenade launchers and an RPG-7. The latter one being weapons originally intended for fun game modes. Still, they found their way into hostage rescue modes and bomb defuse matches. Covering CS offices' corridors with suppressing fire is no problem with a semi-automatic grenade launcher, although it doesn't feel very Counter-Strikey. One thing I noticed while playing the mod is that the lags and small visual errors that plagued Counter-Strike Online 2 while I was still playing it on a Chinese server, they are still there, bringing up the question if this game is just poorly optimized, or if it is just an issue with the portation. I assume it is a mixture of all factors, because back then I had horrible ping. And the mod itself runs, at times, relatively unstable. Random crashes are not uncommon. If they manage to get this modification, this offline version of Counter-Strike Online 2, to run properly without crashes, I can guarantee you it will be a hit on a LAN party with friends. It is absolutely useless for competitive play, but for someone with friends who all enjoy Counter-Strike, it is a great source of entertainment. I can't wait to try this out in multiplayer and not only against bots. And now to the one best thing that ever came out of Nexon's Counter-Strike Online 2, the maps. In my video on the game dying, I noted that I would love to see the maps being converted and released for CSGO. And that is exactly what the modders are doing. While they are implementing the original maps into their mod, they also converted some of them for CSGO and uploaded them to the workshop. In the description you will find a link to their workshop portfolio. Currently they have 3 maps released. 2 of them rather simplistic maps, one of them a very basic team deathmatch map, but most notably D-Dust 2 from the latest version of Counter-Strike Online 2. Just a few months ago, before the game shut down, they retextured the whole map to make it a little bit more visually appealing, I guess. Yet it can still not compete with CSGO, especially not with the modern version. I hope that in the near future the modders will release maps like Aztec, Vertigo and Estate, because especially Estate is a visually stunning reimagination of this Counter-Strike classic. The map just has to be in CSGO, since it is based on one of the very first Counter-Strike maps ever made. It is just a historic map, and when there's one thing I love, it is the history of Counter-Strike. So that's it for today. Maybe go ahead and show those guys some love, play their maps and tell them what you think of it. I for one think they are doing great work. See you guys next time. Till then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.